Hello and welcome to Module 2. I'm really excited to get into our first Photoshop lecture of the semester. So to start us off on the right foot, I want to give you guys some pointers on how you can watch a lecture and follow along with me. To do that, I'm just going to quickly go to last week's module, Module 1, and I'm going to pull up Assignment 1 Upload Practice. You don't need to do this. You can just take a peek and follow my pointers, and I'll let you guys know when to kind of pause and follow along with me. So the first advice I have for you guys is whenever we do a lecture where you guys follow along with the assignment or exercise, I would like you guys to watch the lecture on a separate screen if possible. So if you have an extra laptop or an iPad, I would suggest watching it on a separate screen. If you have an extra monitor, maybe you can hook that up. But if you don't, I'd like you guys to, keep YouTube open separately from Photoshop and kind of go back and forth so you can easily pause, go into Photoshop, and then come back. So here's what I mean by that. If you don't have a separate screen, what you can do is start the lecture. I'm actually going to pause it. And then if you are on a PC, you can hit Windows and Tab, and it actually cycles through all of the different programs that you have open. If you're on a Mac like I am, it is actually Command Tab, or again, Windows Tab, and it lets you toggle through all of the programs that you have open. It makes it a lot easier to come back. You can also just come down to your menu bar and click on whatever program you want to come back to. I prefer keyboard shortcuts. So that's the first thing, having it projected onto the right screen or at least a separate window. Again, I've noticed that a lot of my students work on laptops, and I want you guys to have the most real estate to work in Photoshop. So let's try to maximize our screen space by not having, a YouTube browser or a Windows browser open at the same time Photoshop is open. And once you get into the assignment, these YouTube previews are a little bit small, so you can watch the full YouTube video by clicking on this YouTube button. And then once we get into here, I want to show you a few more controls that I think will really help. So the first thing is just play and pause. I think that that's great. Let's say you started a lecture and then you had to stop. You can skip around and start at a certain point. The other thing that you can do is over here there is a gear, and those are your settings. Let me actually turn on the volume for this. If you think I talk too slow, you can speed me up. So let's try to make it not too chipmunky.
Camera sound, that's your first screenshot. I'm going to do that one more time. So Command Shift
Pretty
4,
chipmunky.
And this time I'm going to...
But let's also look at the other side. You might think that I talk too fast, so you can even slow it down.
Go around
Wow.
this area, right?
That's me in the morning, I guess. So you can decide which playback speed works best for you. The other thing that you can also do, these are auto-generated, but there's a close caption button as well. And again, these are just what YouTube generates automatically. So who knows what it'll actually closed caption versus what I say, but I think it does a pretty good job. So those are all options for you for our lectures. And then once you get everything set up, let's hop back into our exercise for today. So this is a great time to hit pause, get your monitors set up or get your screen set up so you could easily toggle back and forth. And then when you come back, after you hit pause, go ahead and meet me in Photoshop and we'll get going from there. All right, so maybe you paused. If you did, welcome back. If you just sat through an awkward silence, thank you for sitting through an awkward silence. What we're going to do now is simply go over what you're looking at on your screen when we open up Photoshop and how we can control the different menus so that your screen and your workspace looks just like mine, so it's really easy to follow along with lectures. So let's close out of this for now if you haven't yet. Again, we're focusing just on Workspace. And so what I'd like to do is talk about the menus that you see when you first open Photoshop. We've got our tools over here to the right, and then, I'm sorry, that is my left. So over here, where my arrow is dancing, we've got our tools, and then we've got all of our windows and menus over here on the right side. So this will be the first time, again, that I want you guys to customize your space so that our screens look the exact same, so that when I go through my lectures, it's easy for you to find your menus. So what I'm about to do is get this all set up and customized, and then at the end you will save this workspace, and then you will also send me a screenshot of what your workspace looks like so that you can get credit for getting everything set up properly. So let's start off over here on the right side. I'm going to dance around here. We don't need the Learn or the Libraries menu. So what we're going to do to close them is on either one, Learn or Libraries, take your cursor and then press your mouse down and hold on to it, and we're going to drag it over to kind of the middle of our screen. Let's do that again with Libraries. So again, put your cursor right on the word Libraries, click and hold and drag it. You may have done something similar in other programs if you've customized menus before. And now what you see that we didn't have before, we have this little X. So again, if you look over here, we don't have that little X. That allows us to close these. And look, I got more space over here to work in my menus. So now what we're looking at are two separate menus. The first one is our history menu, and I can see history just by hovering. So hovering is when I just take my mouse and I put it over an item without clicking on it. That's hovering. And up here, if I click on those little arrows, this expands or collapses my panels. So expand, collapse, okay? Over here, I can do the same thing. I can collapse it or I can expand it, either one, okay? Go ahead and get your screen like this, and then we're going to customize a few more things by getting rid of some menus that we're not using. Now, I'm going to tell you quickly, we're going to get rid of swatches, gradients, and patterns. Try to get rid of them on your own, so if you want, go ahead and pause, give it a try. But if you remember from last time, you just click and drag, click and drag, click and drag. Okay, one more step, click on the X to get rid of them. Okay, I also want to get rid of channels and paths. So click on the X, click on the X. So in the end, this is what I want your menu to look like when we first get started. So we have history, color, properties, adjustments, and layers. Okay, and again, you can play around with having them expanded or collapsed, expanded or collapsed. All right. What I want to do now that we've got this customized for our class, and just a quick note, we will add to this. As we go through this semester, there will be other windows and menus that we'll be adding. Up at the top of your screen, I'm sorry if it's cut off on my preview, but up towards the top, you'll see a lot of menus, and one of them is called Window. So go ahead and click on Window, meet me at Workspace, and I want to save this as a new workspace. So let me hang out here for just a moment until you find it. And then once you get that, let's go ahead and name this SLCC. And I don't know what class you're in. Are you in 1250? Are you in 1350? So 1250 is interior design. 1350 is architectural graphics. So I'll just do SLCC digital graphics. And what we'll do, we'll save the menus and the toolbar and then hit save. And the thing that's nice about this is, let's say that you live with somebody who also uses Photoshop. I had a few of you in your introduction tell me that you live with the Photoshop Pro. What this allows you to do is maybe your Photoshop Pro only uses the essentials. That's where we started. So they can come, click on Essentials Default. Oops, sorry, let me reset the default because I've been working in here. So reset Essentials. This is good to tell whoever you might be living with and using Photoshop. So when we reset the essentials, it should go back to how they're comfortable. Or they can save their own workspace. Similarly, I can come over here and change my workspace back to SLCC Digital Graphics, and it goes right back to where it should be. Now let's say as you were doing this assignment or this exercise with me that you accidentally closed the layer menu. See how layers are gone? If you lose any of these, you can come right back up to Window. There's layers. Okay, so if you lose anything, you can also come back to Window, and then hopefully you're already comfortable moving these back into the menus where they belong. So this is the first thing that I'd like you guys to do. Make sure your screen looks like my screen. Once you're done with this exercise, what I'd like you to do is to take a screenshot that not only shows me your workspace, but I also want you to show me that you have created this workspace called SLCC Digital Graphics. So since I'm on my Mac, I can hit Command-Shift-4 and I can take a screenshot of this, and that takes care of this part of the assignment. So I hope that's helpful. Get this set up and then move on to the next part of our lecture.